Welcome to the Morelife podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Horowitz, and this podcast series is called Have Your Say. In this series, we would like to invite you to listen to Morelife clients talk about our programs. In these episodes, clients tell us their personal stories through their experiences before, during, and after attending one of our programs. In this episode, we can hear a discussion between Dr. Edwards, our Chief Operations Officer, and Ava, who participates in one of our Tier 2 weight management programs.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Eva. It's lovely to meet you. The first question really, what brought you to Morelife in the first place? How did you come to start our program?
Of course. Hi, Sophie. It's nice meeting you too. So for me, I'm 40 years old. I live in London, and I just had my third baby 2 years ago. And I've always had normal weight until after this third baby. I know that you gain weight during pregnancy, but usually it slowly come off for me. But in this case, I noticed my weight was going up after I've had the baby throughout the first year. And so then when I noticed that, I became a bit concerned. I know that it wasn't quite normal, and I didn't want the trend to continue. Then I have a lot more work to bring it back down. So I think I was most worried about the trend where it's going, the weight just keeps going up after delivery. So that's when I went to the GP, and the GP mentioned Morelife to me, and they made the referral to me. And at first, I didn't know that you can also do self-referral. They said, at that time I was 70 kilograms. I was in the overweight category. And they said, actually, you're usually, if you're in the obese category, you get priorities. But because you have gestational diabetes, so we can refer you still. So that's how they made the referral.
Okay, brilliant. So you had that concern the weight was going up and didn't want it to get out of control. And then your GP pointed you in our direction, which is great GP. So what was your first experience then? You were referred, and then did we contact you? What happened next?
Yeah, so soon after I got an email which listed all the options online and offline. For the offline options, it's around where I live in Camden, Islington, and there's a different time almost for every day of the week. So it was quite a lot of options. And I was able to choose when I was closest to my home. And that was on Thursday morning for an hour and a half, I think 10:30 to 12 with Siren. So that's how I started. It was a 10-week program, isn't it? And it's a rolling program.
So for you, you chose the face-to-face option. Was that something that was important to you?
Yeah, I think that was really important to me. I done online studies. I know that in person just works so much better for me. And in this program, I knew that going out of the house is beneficial for me as well.
Yeah.
And of course, some people, if they couldn't arrange it, then it's good to have the online option. They're not. But for me, I really wanted to be there in person.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm the same actually when I participate in things. I think the digital world, it's great, and COVID taught us so much. And like you say, for some people, it's so much easier. But I think to have that option available to those who do just find it better to be in person is really important.
I think this actually turned out to be a key factor in how effective the program was for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I can tell you how my experience was when I joined.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so this was the one I joined was in the community center in Kentish Town. And when I joined, there was one facilitator, in my case was Syra, and then the participants will sit around in a half circle in the room. When I joined, it's usually around 10 to 15 participants, varying week by week. And it was a rolling program. So we will start with different people, then people finish on the way, and then new people would join each week. As a rolling program, every week we talk about one topic, and each topic can be stand on its own as a separated topic, like a topic on food, a topic on sleep, a topic on habit tracking. In that sense, I understand how it can be joined on a rolling basis. And so when I joined, I actually had no idea why my weight kept going up. I know that I started eating more snacks at night, late at night, eating some ice cream, eating some chocolate. But I didn't quite know why. I remember in our first session, we started talking about food. Then Sarah mentioned about physical hunger versus emotional hunger.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I heard about emotional eating. I think I must have heard it before, but I just never registered with myself. And then she was quite happy to take on a few Q&As, even though that session was about something else. So I think from that first session, that's when I realized what I was experiencing was a lot of stress eating, emotional eating. Just recognizing that was a big part in stopping that trend. Ever since I realized that, it just sort of became less powerful than before. I think before maybe I was just doing it blindly without realizing. And once I realized it, it was very powerful and just instantly became much less.
Yeah, that makes sense. When we talk about emotional eating, I think some people have a picture in their mind of what that looks like, but actually it's often more subtle, like you said, some of that nighttime eating, just to help wind down at the end of the day or out of boredom. And that is really common. You don't really realize what you're doing.
Yeah, I think in the handout, which was really helpful, that compared physical hunger and emotional hunger. And it just made it quite clear. Like it says physical hunger comes on slowly, emotional hunger comes on quickly. I just have it in front of me. I still keep the handbook. So when I read them, it really helped me recognize the signs of emotional hunger.
Okay, brilliant. And you said once you recognized it, it became less powerful, which a lot of people say the first thing. That's why we really try and teach people that self-awareness, become more in touch with our own behaviors and feelings. Was there anything else? So after you'd recognized it, did you try any strategies to change it, or did you find that just by recognizing it, you were able to change it?
I think big factor for me was the community's sense of support between the participants, actually. So that's why I said coming in person was a key factor for me. I remember coming and people sharing their stories, and we share the same struggles. And that really gave a sense of support and acceptance and understanding to myself. And that emotional support was also really important in making the changes happen. I think I recognized the reason for my emotional eating was partly because I was feeling very isolated after having a baby. I was feeling tired. It's hard to go out and it's hard to meet people. So I was feeling very isolated. And that's when the emotional eating started. So by coming to the Morelife group, that actually feel this need for connection, for socializing for me. So it kind of treated both the cause and the behavior itself. Yeah, that was really helpful for me.
That's it. And that's why we really like those group-based programs, because exactly that, as human beings, we all need that sense of connection, community. And then when it comes to topics like emotional eating, just having someone who understands, that you don't have to explain it to because they've been there.
And it's also a topic that people don't really bring up very much during daily life. I think there's so much about body positivity, making your own choices, feeling good about your body, which is true. But I think being the programmer, realized there are times that I would like to make a different choices, but I couldn't, or I want to be more healthy. Or some people say they just find delicious food really hard to resist. Some people say it's the social gatherings. For some people, they just work through the whole day and then snack on food. So becoming aware of these and realizing that I'm not alone in having these issues and these unhealthy choices. It's not a choice I would like to make, but it's choices that's being made in the days that's affecting my weight. So that was quite helpful to be able to talk about weight, talk about diet openly and share these similar experiences.
Yeah, that's interesting because you're right. I think it isn't talked about sometimes because there's a stigma around it and there's a stigma around weight. But also, like you said, some of the newer body positive movements and the self-acceptance, it's almost to say I want to lose weight feels like you're not being body positive. But the way you've described it makes sense. You can have that self-acceptance and compassion, but want to be healthier, but want to feel more comfortable in your body. So you found the group support was really important. Some of the emotional eating topics really resonated with you. Was there anything else about the program that you found really helpful or supported you?
Yeah, I think the third part is that I find it to be quite well balanced on different lifestyle discussions. It's not hyper focused on weight itself. So weight becomes almost a result that you're not becoming anxious or obsessing over just the weight or dieting or restricting yourself, but it's focusing on having more of other things. I guess that's why it's called Morelife. So more sleep, more healthy food, more exercises, more, I guess, social support, focusing on the more things that you can do, which I find it quite good. It doesn't become mentally unhealthy about food and eating, but it introduced lots of healthy things that naturally lead to weight loss. For example, one thing I find really helpful, this is not even just specific to weight loss, but something that carries on to other parts of managing life, really. At end of every session, I remember we would do what's it called, a SMART goal for the next week. So we think about one thing that we want to do, and we make it very specific. I remember for one of the week, my SMART goal was just writing down everything that I ate, but just one thing. And that was really helpful. So we could focus on one thing and focus on getting the benefits and results and observation from one aspect, and then move on to something else the next week. And this is all self-directed. So it's not Sarah telling us what to do, but us taking what we learned from the session and making our own goals, making our own plans. And I think that was really powerful, and things I've kept that habit and carried it over to other parts of my life. So overall, I think it's really healthy for lifestyles, and I really appreciated that.
That's great. And it makes me really happy to hear that, because that is the intention. I think absolutely what you've said, it's adding more, not restricting. Everyone has strengths, everyone has things they enjoy. So building on that, and we can't tell you what is best for you. Everyone knows themselves better than we'll ever know you. So taking that information that we do have, or the discussions we have, and seeing how they apply to your own life, that really is the best way of doing things.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what you said was reflected in the way the course was delivered. Well, I only met Sarah, but the way Sarah delivered it was not, well, it wasn't a coach, but she was sharing the knowledge, she was encouraging, she was supporting. It is a coach, but it's not a very instructive coach. So that was really nice. I really enjoyed talking to Sarah, and I think she moderated the sessions really nicely. It was very knowledgeable, but also friendly, and she gave space for the participants to discuss. So actually, I find the free discussion part was really helpful. It would be a lot less beneficial for me if it was Sarah talking through the whole session. But fortunately, there was always time for discussion between the participants. Sometimes she'll ask something, or sometimes the discussion will come from someone's question and other people just adding. I found these discussions really beneficial, and it was from that peer support, that feeling understanding what other people are going through and trying to offer your support to others. And I really value that there was that space in the session.
Brilliant. I mean, that all sounds great. And I know we don't focus solely on it, but did you manage to lose weight during your time on the program?
Yeah, so I started when I was 70 kilo, which was my peak weight outside of pregnancy. And then slowly, I think during the 10 weeks, I lost about 5 kilo. Yeah, it was really good. I think during the 10 weeks, it really just helped me become hyper focused on all the food choices or the exercise choices. I was walking so much more than before. I was eating more healthy, and I felt empowered. So yeah, I dropped about 5 kilo, I think, or maybe 4 or 5, and afterwards it kept going down. So I think now I'm about 63 kilo.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
And it stayed there, so I'm really happy. I just feel so much happier without the extra weight that I had to carry around with me.
Oh, that's brilliant. And how long ago did you finish the program?
I started in January and I finished in about March, April.
Great. So it's been a good 6 months since you finished it. So and you've still maintained those behaviours. That's really great.
Yeah, I think so generally. And things like walk more. I definitely think about Morelife every time I have a choice to walk or to drive. And I think maybe that experience really stayed with me. I think I don't walk as much as during that 10 weeks, but I remember how much more I was able to walk during that 10 weeks. And I was really happy with that feeling of walking everywhere, moving a lot. So that feeling stayed with me and motivated me to do more when I can.
Brilliant. I mean, all that's really positive. Was there anything that you found challenging or you have found challenging since finishing the program?
I can't think of anything specific. I haven't had big lapses. I've had small times when I want to eat some sugary food, but it's within a normal range, and I've kept up the exercise habits, so it's under control. It's going well. I think if I have one suggestion for the program, if that's okay,
of course,
is for me, because I valued so much of the peer-to-peer discussions and support. I always wish it was not a rolling program. And I said it to Sarah, I can see how the topics are compartmentalized, and it's definitely possible to do that. And I was able to start as quickly as I could because the program was rolling. There was a feeling of maybe a little hesitation when I know that people could be finished anytime. I never knew who was about to finish. Or when new people are coming in, I knew that I won't be staying long with them. So sometimes we follow someone's progress and follow someone's stories. That sense of connectedness was slightly made more difficult for me because of the rolling program.
And that makes sense. If it was a closed group and you were there beginning to end all together, yeah, I can imagine that you'd have that closer bond. You'd all start at the same point and go through it all at the same time.
Yeah, so that's my only suggestion. But I'm really grateful that this program exists. It made a huge difference to me. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Oh, you're welcome. And my final question to you that I ask everyone is, if you were speaking to someone who's just started the program or just about to start the program, what pieces of advice or one piece of advice would you give them?
I guess I would recommend the in-person program if they can. And I'm hesitating because I think the program is so well structured and it's really presented in a very nice and welcoming way. I felt that if they took themselves there, then they can get a lot out of the program. Don't really need to say, oh, try to make the most of it, because I think naturally they would. I guess just try to keep going every week and make it a commitment to enjoy. Trust the program, and the program will be helpful to you.
That's great. That's really good advice, I think. feel like you've said so much and it's been really lovely talking to you. But is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think I'm always curious to know how I can help after going through the program. And when I first found out about it, I couldn't believe it's available and it's free. And I'm so grateful. Anyone could join or refer themselves. I don't know if that's correct.
Yep, people can, absolutely.
So yeah, that's amazing. I just always happy to hear how I can help more.
That's lovely to hear. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Sophie. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode on the Morelife Have Your Say series, where we heard Ava elaborate on how the social support from her Morelife program really propelled her weight loss journey, along with gaining new insights into diet and health. If you found this episode interesting or helpful, please subscribe to our podcast for more client stories, tips, and resources. Don't forget to leave us feedback and share this episode with someone that you think can benefit from it. Visit us online for additional support and resources to find out more about us. Looking forward to seeing you for our next episode.